Because now they are joining 71. I think it has come.
Yes,
74, sir.
We have 250 registrations. I thought there is some problem with my computer.
Wait for some time, sir.
No,
Because,
sir.
we have 275 people who have registered. Email has gone. No, not with your computer, sir. There is some problem with.
WebEx.
Why is it coming like this? YouTube. No, you start the YouTube. Okay, now you show, sir. No, I'm unable to get this. I don't- Manju, we'll wait for some time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because mail has gone no just now, and we have sent message also to whomever we have done. Ravi,
Okay.
whoever number you are having WhatsApp, you can forward the message.
yes, madam. I have done.
Yeah. We don't want to see the YouTube, no?
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, ma'am. We can't hear anything.
Good afternoon, sir. Who?
I need my system, so you keep going.
This suppose the time is not sufficient. If there are doubts which are not answered, we can keep some time. Whenever we have time, we'll answer those questions. As much as possible, we'll complete with the session.
Okay, sir.
Because time is not there. Some of them we can take in some other time. But today only one speaker, I think. So
Yes, sir. Only one speaker, sir.
we'll have enough time.
So good afternoon, sir. I think we can adjust with whatever time we get.
There, don't be in a hurry because
Yes,
they,
yes.
they are so much interested in listening and understanding. So we'll go
Agreed.
slowly, no problem. You can go till
Sure.
4:30 also.
Yes, sir. We have enough time.
I think now only they are coming.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Just wait for 5 more minutes. I think they will do. This actually we were trying to contact Cisco server and that Chennai office and other people. So from 1 o'clock when sir called, till now we were trying to troubleshoot. We thought if we can get it, but that's why it took some time. Anyway, they're all coming. Just,
Why are you in forensic medicine, madam?
sir, actually, the other computer in the office,
Curious.
live transmission is going on.
Okay.
I will rename myself. So,
Madam is ready.
done. 11:30. Manju, can you admit people?
Yes, ma'am, I'm admitting, ma'am.
We're getting quite a few messages. So whomever is messaging, I'm responding. Hello. அதுதான்மா இது சிஸ்கோ சர்வர் எங்கே பார்த்தாலும் டவுனாக இருக்குது. ஸோ அதனால் நான் உங்களுக்கு இப்போ அனுப்பி விட்றேன். டீனுக்கும் அனுப்புகிறேன், டீன் ஆஃபீஸ்க்கும் அனுப்புகிறேன். $129. Manju, I think we can start, Manju. 129, 130. So many people have come.
Okay, ma'am.
We'll see. Most of them are coming. Hello. Yeah, tell.
Once you give introduction of that, I think it will be on the.
Ma'am, so shall I start, sir?
Yeah, I think you give some brief introduction.
Yes, sir. And I have a recap also to do, sir, for
Yeah,
day
so
one.
you finish that by the time another 5 minutes.
Okay, sure, sir. I will start, sir.
And they will join me soon.
Okay, sir. So, a very good afternoon to one and all. I wholeheartedly welcome our beloved Dean, Dr. P.F. Kotur, sir, Director of Medical Research, Dr. Vishnu Bhatt, sir, Dean, HP, Dr. V.N. Mahalakshmi, ma'am, our speaker of the day, Dr. Sitaraman, sir, other resource persons, members of the IRC and MEU, and all the participants to day 2 of our research webinar series titled Building Heterogeneity in Research, conducted by IRC and MEU AVMCH. So before we start the today's program, I extend my for this delay in the program. There was a small technical issue with our system. That's why this delay. So before we start today's program, I would like to
not with our system. It is with the Cisco WebEx platform
Okay.
itself, which is down.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. So before we start today's program, I would like to give a small recap of the day one of our program, which was held on 6th of July, 2021. The first day program was hosted by Dr. S. Ravi Kumar, Member Secretary IRC. A pre-program test questionnaire was shared with the participants in the morning itself. Research webinar series day one started with a prayer song, followed by our beloved Dean Dr. P.F. Kotur sir delivered the welcome address. It was followed by Dr. Vishnu Bhatt sir, our Director of Research, who addressed the participants with a few words about the relevance of the topics of this workshop in the present era and the need for understanding and practicing them. Dr. Mahalakshmi ma'am, she very briefly enumerated the objectives of the workshop and narrated a Noah's Ark story in a very interesting manner and explained to correlate the lessons that we learned from the story to the research that is done in the current times. There were two topics on the first day. The first topic was how to prepare a scientific manuscript for a journal by Dr. P.F. Kotur sir. He started with a preamble that a good article should be able to convert an article looker to an article reader. He spoke about the need for writing an article by explaining the various motivations to publish. Then he dealt with the various steps of publication cycle. Then he dealt with the 5 main essentials for a quality publication. Then the 3 basic aspects of effective writing. Then his talk was regarding the art of writing a good article, starting from preparing a first draft where we use a divide and conquer approach. Then he explained in detail each and every part of the UMART structure of an article. Then he discussed about the TAKAR form. Then he also his discussion was also regarding the common pitfalls in publications, special problems of seen in Indian articles, then the golden rules on reporting numbers, some key issues regarding the publication ethics like plagiarism, research misconduct, conflict of interest, etc. The session was very interactive due to the use of many buzz sessions and polls. Sir ended his talk with a message that publication of medical research is at high stakes now. That was regarding the first session. It was followed by a second session. The topic was where to publish by Dr. Saurav Srivastava sir. He started his talk with enumerating the various attributes to be considered while selecting an appropriate journal. Then he explained about how to plan an effective revision of an article, reasons for rejection of an article, and how to improve the acceptance rate. He went through the new NMC norms regarding the publications for promotion of medical teachers. Then he explained in detail, step by step, all the 6 steps that were involved in publishing a research article, like identifying a target journal, following the journal instructions, submission of an article, understanding the decision process, revising a paper and answering the queries, and reviewing the proofs. So he shared his vast experience in publishing the articles, which really motivated all of us in remaining patient and not to lose hope, even if some journals reject our articles. So this is a small, in nutshell, about day one recap. So before we start the program, I have a small announcement. I request all the participants to mute themselves. And any queries or issues you have, you can feel free to type it in the chat box so that the speaker will be very happy to reply to your queries at the end of the session. So this much about the thing. Now,
Manju, one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
See, since we have changed the platform,
Yes, ma'am.
request all the participants to rename themselves the official name which they have given in the registration form.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
seeing a lot of Galaxy Note, home computer and all that.
Okay, I'll
You will
announce.
not be able to put the attendance for the people. So
I know.
kindly rename yourself as your official registered names.
Yes.
Thank you.
I hope all the participants would have heard what ma'am has said. I just repeat it once more. Please, all of the participants, please rename your the name with which you have entered into the Zoom platform. The name with which you have registered for this workshop. Please use that name so that it will be easy for us to mark the attendance. Okay, so now I would like to go give a small introduction about the speaker, and we can go for today's session. Okay, so the introduction about share. Okay, So today's speaker, we have got Dr. N. Sitharaman sir. He is a professor and head Department of Community Medicine, KMCH Institute of Health Sciences and Research, Coimbatore. He also holds the position of the coordinator for the medical education unit of the institute. His prior working experience, he has worked as in various posts from assistant professor to professor in Mahatma Gandhi Medical College, Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth University, Pondicherry, SRM University, Chennai, PSG Institute of Medical Sciences, Coimbatore. And he did his MBBS, his undergraduation from Sri Ramachandra Medical College, Porur, Chennai, and his post-graduation in community medicine from PSG Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, Coimbatore. Regarding his research experience, his areas of interest in research are spatial epidemiology, application of IT tools in healthcare, medical education and research methodology training. And the research works or the areas where his prior research works include GIS in tuberculosis control, health issues among transgenders, career aspirations among medical graduates. Now, current research, the work that is going on, he's doing now, it is in the fields of road traffic accidents, e-waste disposal, and he has plenty of and a huge number of articles which are published in many indexed, highly indexed national and international journals too. So with this, and today the topic on which he is going to speak is systematic review, characteristics, types, stages, and automation. So this is today's topic. So thank you. This is the introduction about our speaker. Now I would like Dr. Sitharaman sir to take over the session and continues.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for those kind words. Am I audible?
You are audible, sir. Now you can share also, sir. Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all senior faculty members and colleagues. It is indeed a pleasure to be in a learned group of people. We'll discuss on systematic reviews today. I would like this to be a two-way communication as much as possible. I think we should start, and then we're starting at 2:30. Should be enough 1.5 hours. Let me share my screen. So this title slide is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay. Right. So the session is on systematic reviews. I'm Dr. Sitharaman. Greetings from Coimbatore. Right. Let's start like this. I'll show you a couple of pictures. You're going to tell me what words come to your mind. So I have two pictures now. This and this. So what words come to your mind when you see this? I hope to hear from you. Anybody? Somebody?
Organized content, organized data and information.
Organized. Okay, madam. Participants. Soloto, madam. Yeah. Disorganized became organized. Okay. I would like to hear from somebody else. Okay, this one. Organized or structure, I would say. Both are same meaning. Right, this one, give me a word for this. Not Maha, somebody else.
There are quite a few responses are there in the chat box. Cluster and arrow.
Oh,
Lack
the
of
chat.
Focused. Streamlining. Arrow. Target. Half is organized. Connecting dots get directions.
Nice.
Rupture of bubble.
Nice.
Arrow, pinpoint,
Right. So,
lining, directional, focus,
okay.
convergence.
Right. Now,
Okay. Fishbone.
convergence, focus, all are good.
Fishbone.
Fishbone. Okay. Right. So, by design, I guess I cannot see the chat window from this screen. Anyway,
Sir,
we
it is
got the response
there in the
we
ribbon.
wanted.
It will be on the top.
From this view, I can see only my screen.
We'll read it out for you, sir.
The full screen is only my slide, madam. I can't see the chat window.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. You can read it for me. Yeah. So these two words, I think, structure and synthesis. These are some of the defining characteristics when we want to talk about systematic reviews. Okay. So, what shall we discuss in this session? We look at what is systematic review, what are the types and certain characteristics, why and when do we do these, and most importantly, how we go about doing this. We will also look at the limitations and the ways to overcome, and the future directions, what next. And then if we have time, we'll have an open floor. We can clarify doubts. Right. So I hope you did Menti yesterday. Before we start, I think we should try this. Please go to menti.com. Those who are using mobile, you need to press your home button, then open Menti in a separate browser, and then you enter this number. You will see a poll. I'll share the results screens. Yesterday we used, the previous day we used Menti, madam. Have you used Menti before? This group? Okay, it's fairly simple.
Yes,
Even if
sir.
you're not used.
I think majority of the participants have used it, sir. Yes.
Yes, wonderful. All you have to do is type menti.com. Then waiting for the results to load. Now, this question was a little tricky one. We couldn't find the most matching type of display for this. Yes. So you're being asked to rate the usefulness and the difficulty in doing a systematic review. What are your thoughts? Yes. Okay, so this is very difficult to do, very much useful, this window. Not much of use, easy to do. Okay. There's an issue with this type of graphing. After 50 responses, I think it will disappear. So let's, the general idea I can see. Okay, most of the answers are in the top right cell. Difficult to do, but useful. Okay. I'm waiting for more. 25, 26 have answered. Let's see when this disappears. Okay, so few of us think it's not of much use. Anything to the left of the screen is visible, right?
Yes, sir. We are able to see your screen, sir.
Yes, yes. Okay. So anything to the left of that line means you think it's not of much use. rather anything to the bottom of that this line. Anything to the left, it means you think it's easy to do. Okay, we get the general gist. Most of you think it's useful, but still difficult to do. Some of you think it's easy to do, but not much useful. All those, right? I think we can stop this poll. We can come back to our. Right, so that's what we think as it stands now. If time permits, we could run it again at the end and see if some of your perceptions have changed. Right. So let's go to the what is it section. So when we usually hear the word reviews, I think the first thing most of us think is the process of review of literature review, the process that we do before we embark on a scientific study or a publication. Getting to know what we already know, that part, the process of reviewing literature, that's what comes to our mind when we hear the word review. Whereas when we looked at the published types of article, we will see that other than original article, there is a section called reviews. And in those, there are many types of reviews. You might come across some historical reviews, sometimes a narrative review, then sometimes we get to see a scoping review, and sometimes we also see systematic reviews. Right. So this article, if you see, it says review article. It says TB control from the beginning till last month. When was this published? Yeah, till June 30th. Right. So this is a kind of historical review. Yes, it is review. It can be called historical review. This is also called a review. This is more of a situational review. This, in fact, is one of our PG students published as a minor project out of her dissertation. Anyway, what I'm saying is these review articles are also a little bit structured. They have some system in it. Even when we do review of literature, we structure it a little bit, like Indian authors, international authors, studies within the past 5 years, studies older than that. There is some form of system in our reviews also, but yet systematic review is something else. Right. So if we look at the types, actually there seems to be more than 30 types. We know of one or two, maybe 3, 4, but basically there is a whole bunch of them. They go with names like evidence briefing, mapping review, scoping review, rapid review, the well-known meta-analysis and systematic reviews, mixed methods review, qualitative synthesis, evidence synthesis, and even review of reviews. This is some of the 30. Right, so if you want to know what SR is all about, one word, okay, two words. It's all about evidence synthesis. We are putting together, synthesizing all the evidence. If we want a short description, it will be like this. Objective, transparent, and repeatable attempts to synthesize the available evidence to answer a specific question. Right. So if we still want a big textbook definition kind of thing, I got that too. A review of the evidence on a clearly formulated question using systematic and explicit methods to identify, select, and critically appraise relevant primary research, extract and analyze data from these studies, combine these findings so that conclusions can be drawn and decisions made. This is a comprehensive definition. It says almost like what are the key characteristics. Question has to be there, systematic method, and it tells what is actually done. We extract, combine, that is also told, and also why it is done, so that conclusions can be drawn, decisions made. This is a good definition if you want one. Right. So, moving on to the characteristics, we already saw two words, structure and synthesis. Uh, we can also add these three: methodical, repeatable, transparent. So if you want general characteristics, these words will describe an SR well. Right, so this is in a single picture. If I want to show what is it, there are input studies which go through a systematic process, and finally a very structured output comes, and then that is disseminated in one picture if we want to show. Right. If you want to see a little bit more characteristics, it is about synthesizing currently published evidence. Both the words are important because usually we don't look for very old evidence, because, as you know, evidence gets updated very rapidly. So we want current evidence. We also want published evidence. Remember this, we'll come back to this part a little later, because unpublished data is also treasure trove, which we don't touch much. Right, and this is something we need to remember. SR, systematic reviews, need not always be on clinical trials. We can do reviews, systematic reviews on cohort studies, on even descriptive studies. We can do no harm. In fact, it does not even have to be quantitative studies, which you can add up and do mathematical stuff. It can also be on qualitative studies and mixed method studies. The only thing is we won't able to mathematically summarize. So what we will do is we will synthesize without meta-analysis. So systematic reviews need not even, it's not restricted to quantitative studies. And this, sometimes we have had scoring levels to tell how good the evidence is, how good their methodology they followed this. This is followed many times, but Cochrane for some reason has been discouraging this scoring levels. Hopefully you will get the answer for why Cochrane does that in the separate session on Cochrane. Right. So if we look at this is a study looking at reviewing all the published SRs, looking at this little old, but it looks at when they're published, usually how many authors are there, which countries. Basically, the message from this slide, I know it's difficult to read. It's a team, it's never a single author. Most publications from China, UK, and US, and the focus, what are they actually reviewing about? No? Most of them is about therapeutic, treatment or prevention, almost 55%. 1/4 on epidemiology and a little bit on others. And common health conditions which are for which systematic reviews are done are given here: neoplasia, TOPS, infections, vasculitis. And if you if you look at the all published reviews, 15% are only from Cochrane. 85% of reviews are independent reviews, not Cochrane, which is actually good news. Okay. So number of included studies, sometimes 15, 9, it's in double digits mostly. Oops, that's a little embarrassing. Hold on. Right. How many studies have done meta-analysis? 60% of studies have done meta-analysis. The other 40 did not do meta-analysis in this. And this one is actually interesting. Empty review means no eligible studies. We'll talk about this later if you ask a specific question. So empty reviews means you apply all the strict eligibility criteria and keep excluding studies. You finally come to a situation where there is not a single published study which satisfies your criteria. that can still find that can still be claimed as a systematic review, definitely, because you followed all the methods. It's just that there is no studies eligible. So, in fact, Cochrane has this entry. I think 1 or 2 entries. Anyway, uh, so how long do you think it takes to conduct a systematic review? Please go to Menti and use this code. Meanwhile, let me see if you can see the chat box. Yeah, so your options were a few days, few weeks, couple of months, lots of months. Let's see where you. I really want to see as many answers as possible for this. This is a key question. I'll be happy if 60 or 70 people.
Some of the responses are in the chat box. Somebody says lots of
in the
months,
chat box.
few weeks,
Okay.
couple of months, few weeks. So these are all in the chat box. I think
Right.
2 to 3 months is also there. There is nobody says few days. A few have told,
Okay.
2 or 3 have told few weeks.
Okay.
Lots of months, one person has told.
Okay. Right. So this is important. This is what our current understanding is. Thankfully, very few have said few days, few weeks. More than half of us believe it takes a couple of months. Okay, good for us. Nearly 1/5 of us tell lots of months. Let's see what published evidence is. Right. So this screen is visible again, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Right. So this is the published weeks. It is in weeks, not days. So let's take some time for this to sink in. Even the rapid review takes 8 to 24 weeks. A Paka systematic review takes, what is this, 1 to 1.5 years. That's a lot of months. Okay, so I think that a well done, a robust SR will take 52 to 78 weeks, which is nothing but 1 to 1.5 years, 1 to 2 years. Okay. Why I'm stressing on this is because of the NMC promotion and all that, we might get a tendency to, okay, let's do a review article. That seems to be an easy one than original research. let's finish it in a couple of weeks. That kind of mentality I am trying to caution you against. A systematic review cannot be rushed. It has to be a team of people. It will take lots of months. So the quick reviews, the historical review, situational analysis kind of review articles, yes, please do. But if you want to do an SR, you need to be serious about it. You need to invest time and a team in it. It's a 1 year, 2 year job, not a 1 week job. Right. So when do we do this, and why do we do this? The simple answer could be when one study is just not enough. You either don't believe that study, you want a bigger sample size, you want it done in a different group, you want to. There could be so many reasons why one study is not enough. Of course, objectivity issues and all that. So this is the one-line answer why we need systematic reviews. And if we look at the magnitude of biomedical research, there are so many papers being published. In fact, we don't know the exact numbers. We know roughly around 30,000 journals and 2 million articles are published annually, I believe, somewhere near that. Okay, the exact numbers are not known. So 2 million research publications. That's just way too many. Most of them, they're not most, I'm sorry for that word. Many of them are low quality research, and those needs to be weeded out. We do not want those, we don't want to be discussing those in our weekly journal clubs and concluding and taking their conclusions into our patient care. No, we don't want low quality research. We need to weed them out. And even though we have so many studies,
Sir, Sitaraman, sir, your voice is, you're not audible, sir. Sir, I think you have muted yourself, sir. Please unmute, sir.
Is there Manju?
He's there, ma'am.
Oh, audio, video, both are off.
No, video is there, ma'am.
Illiyamma. Name only is.
Oh, yeah. From starting itself, he has switched on his video, ma'am, while he was presenting, sir.
Yes. Sir, can you hear us? We are seeing your desktop. Can you hear us?
Maybe you can talk over the phone.
Yeah, I'll call, sir.
right. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Now you're audible, sir.
I don't know how I got muted. Right, my bad. Right, so there's a lot of studies, but not much of a final word. Now, I was saying, having a final word, a fixed word, is against the principles of science. We keep updating ourselves as and when new evidence comes. Agreed, but we still need some kind of consensus. right? So synthesis makes sense. We need some kind of consensus so that we can move forward and act upon it. So this is why we need systematic reviews to combine many studies and give us an authoritative final answer. Yes, this works. Yes, this does not work. Either way. So when is doing an SR most appropriate means when you want a single final answer to questions that have been studied multiple times with varying results probably. So this is when SR is needed.
Sir,
Of course, most
sir,
of yes.
your slides are not seen, sir. You're not sharing.
Yes, I'll start from here. Yeah, not much consensus is needed, and an SR is most appropriate when you want a single final answer to questions that have been already researched. We most of us know the evidence pyramid. Anyway, I'll just start there again. We have animal studies and laboratory studies where no humans are involved. Then we have case reports or case series where there is no specific design per se. And then we have our case control studies and cohort studies, which have a design, but they are observational studies. And then we have the RCT, the big boss sitting at top. These are primary studies. They actually take patients, primary data. These are called primary studies. But above these sits these reviews, meta-analysis and systematic review, which combines, let's say, 20 or 30 RCTs, which have attempted to answer the same questions. We combine all those. So it is better than a single RCT result. And then the final goal is to convert it into clinical practice guidelines. We need to use that for patient care. So these two sit on top of RCTs. RCT is the highest possible primary study. But these two are secondary studies or filtered studies. Okay. So this, I know you have a separate session, but still just one slide on this. Meta-analysis and systematic reviews, sometimes these words are used interchangeably, wrongly. They are not same. Put simply, the statistical analysis component of systematic review is meta-analysis. Okay. Let that sink in. The statistical analysis component of a systematic review is meta-analysis. So there are lots of complex statistical procedures to numerically combine the effect measure. Most of the times it will be an odds ratio. So that process is called meta-analysis. And like I said before, it is possible to conduct systematic reviews without meta-analysis. And this also another session you have, just a passing mention though. A scoping review might be done as a preliminary stage, which kind of scopes out the area of inquiry and to determine if a systematic review is possible or appropriate, or it can be the groundwork for a full systematic review to follow. You will have a session on this later. Right. So moving on to the how do we do this part? This is probably the most important section. So there are 5 steps. If you can add few more, some will say 7, some will say 11, but basically it's about these: defining the research question, searching for relevant data sources, extraction of the relevant data, and assess the eligibility of the data, whether they fit our criteria, and then analyze and combine the data. like I said, some might add few more before, few more later, and bring it to 7 steps or even 11 steps. We saw this picture earlier. Let's try to give names for each of the steps, identify issues and determine the question. We can write a protocol. How am I going to carry this? Which databases I will access? What will be my inclusion criteria for studies? All those, a protocol, definitely a good habit. And we actually search for the studies. Once we search for the studies, we sift and select the studies. We apply some filters. Then we extract data from these studies. We assess the quality of these studies. We combine the data. If it is numerical, we do a meta-analysis. If it's qualitative, we do a synthesis. Then discuss and conclude the overall findings. So the end product is a systematic review, which we disseminate. So these are the steps in one slide, but this being the core section, I think needs more detailed review. It will be wrong if I don't talk about Cochrane in a presentation on systematic reviews. I know you have a separate session on Cochrane, but still we'll just briefly go through the story behind the logo. This is Cochrane, in case some of us haven't seen. And this logo here has a story behind. We'll see what this is. An actual result of a systematic review published. This is about a corticosteroid usage in reducing some form of prenatal deaths. I forgot. It's an actual systematic review result. Right. Let's look at this. This is called a forest plot. What is inside this thing? It's called a forest plot. Let's take a look at this. This line is the line of unity, you can call it. Anything to the right of it means there is a positive effect. Anything to the left of means there's a negative effect, not exactly bad, like or a protective, depending on what we are studying. Anything to the left can also be called protective, and anything to the right can be called causing harm. Okay, so something here 2 means it's 2 times more risky. If something is in 0.5, it means half the risk, or 50% protective efficacy, whichever way we want to say that. Right, so we take 15 studies and we put the odds ratio of each of these studies. And let's say they distribute like this. Then it's not just odds ratio. We need to add their confidence intervals. Those lines are the 95% confidence interval. And so the next step, we combine all these red dots mathematically using complex meta-analytic tools. We come to a final diamond. This diamond is the combined odds ratio. And the width of the diamond tells us the 95% confidence interval. Okay, this should be enough for now. So this is called a forest plot. This is part of the very symbol of Cochrane. This. So in this, it is here means this was meant for the reduction of mortality. So being to the left is a good thing. It means it reduces the harm. This diamond. Anyway, but actually, so since we are in the how to do part, the entire steps of doing a systematic review can also be explained using the very same logo. They made a wonderful animated storyboard regarding this. Now let's assume these 2 circular things as our defining criteria. Anything outside of that data, we will not include, only those falling inside. Let's say I want only descriptive studies or only RCTs, then other types of studies will be discarded. So that's the 2 blue boundaries. Then we look for data. The evidence may be from lab studies, maybe from field studies, maybe from RCTs, multiple sources of evidence. We search for all those evidence, and let's say each type of study gives us one type of evidence. This is one type of evidence, this triangle is one type of evidence, the circle is one type. Each one is one type. Depending on our question, we will be setting up a filter. This filter is triangular in shape. I need only RCTs. That's our filter. So the others bounce off. If we look, other types of studies bounce off. Only the filtered studies move on to the next phase. So probably this filtering happened only looking at the abstract, like what type of study, at least 400 participants, on the very preliminary level. Now, once we have filtered those studies and kind of accepted, we look deeper. What were their exact objectives? What was the cost involved? And of course, what is the final outcome? This is the next step. And then once we have identified studies with proper outcomes of interest to us, we are discarding some, we are including some. Then we want to move on to the next phase. This is they just take the outcome and putting it in some kind of machine. I mean, this is all graphical, you know. It's like Dexter's laboratory. Anyway, so they're putting it and all the ORs and they're being put into the forest plot with this line. So yes here means protective. Yes, it is protective. No, it is not protective. Let's say we are testing a treatment for hypertension. So reduction, right? So reduction will go on, yes, it is effective state. If you observe a reduction in your endpoint, then that will be to the left of the line. There is no reduction means it will be to the right of the line. This maybe is the one, odds ratio of 1, no effect line. Right. So we put these studies, and this what they're saying is studies with a narrow width. If the confidence interval is narrow, we are more confident. It is a better study than a study with a broad confidence interval. See, this is little broad, so the answers are kind of all over the place. So the narrower the confidence interval, the better it is. So the shorter the width, better it is for combining. Right. So this much, these are the steps, and finally they have come to the final combined odds ratio. So they're putting together all this, and all this combinedly is what forms Cochrane. Right. Hopefully you will learn more on this. This I've told because it is essentially the stages of an SR explained using the logo. It is okay even if the same thing is repeated one more time. It is worth hearing a second time. Okay. So next time you see this logo, remember how much is behind just the simple looking circle and lines. There's also citizen scientist scheme from Cochrane, which I'm not going to talk now. And if you look at the pioneers in the field of developing systematic review and popularizing it, there are 3-4 big names. Cochrane, and EPPI Center stands for Evidence for Policy and Practice Information Center. I have the links, but I don't know if we have time. Joanna Briggs Institute is based in Australia. These 3 are big names in popularizing systematic review the past almost 30-40 years. So basically what they have been doing is they have been developing standards for gathering, analyzing and reporting evidence. Of late, they have also been developing softwares for doing systematic reviews. And among all the guidelines, Prisma stands out. I mean, this is a checklist kind of guideline to look at the goodness of a systematic review. You can use this when you're when you're doing a journal club to critically analyze journal already published journal article. Also, you can use Prisma, but the primary intention is for authors of systematic review to follow these when they submit, when they prepare a systematic review. So Prisma stands for Preferred Rating Items for Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analysis. There's a 2020 updated version. It has a checklist and a flow diagram. And they have in fact developed some extensions like Prisma for abstracts, Prisma for scoping reviews, Prismas for protocols. So these are all guidelines for standard reporting. This is the checklist. It tells about title, whether the title has the word systematic review in it, and the Mari. So abstract, introduction, methods, has the eligibility criteria has been specify the inclusion and grade. So this is more of a guide for the authoring team who's doing the systematic review. As a secondary purpose, you can also use it when you do journal clubs. Results using a flow diagram. That flow diagram they have also given, right? So this is Prisma for us. These are some of the systematic review and meta-analysis tools. Like Distiller SR is probably the most famous. Many of them are exciting. They're all links, but let me try clicking one. Not sure if this is working. Anyway, these are all softwares for doing systematic reviews. MetaLite was developed by EPPA. This is an exciting one, artificial intelligence powered SR tool. Meta Essentials is actually, I think you can start here if you're starting. It's an Excel friendly workbooks. If you know Excel, you should start here. This is for an add-on for the R software statistical package. There are many like this. You can check out. I'll be sharing this. So, well, we quickly move to this section. This is the limitations section. Should I like stop here and ask for doubts or something?
Sir, please.
Can you put in the chat box? Yes, madam, you were saying?
No. This softwares you were showing, no, sir? Any of them are open source or free softwares, or all of them are paid versions we need to get?
Open Meta is free. This second from last is open source. Anything for R will be free. This is paid. About like 80% are paid, madam. There are free services also. There are definitely free services also.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. There is some. No, there are no questions in the chat box here, but maybe you can stop sharing for a minute and ask them whether they have any questions and go, sir.
Sure.
We'll have some time. Maybe somebody wants to ask, we can ask.
Yes. Basically, that went a little faster than I thought. So let's just mid-course review. Let's ask from people. What have
so
you?
There is a question in the chat box. How to use this software from Swanand Revatkar?
Once, yeah. How to use this? Okay. I don't know, sir. Actually, each one is going to be different. We just have to go and explore. If you can keep the okay, I'll learn mentality. We can learn most of this. No big deal. uh, basically these softwares, what they do is you give them the what do I say? You give them the criteria to pick up. You say, I want only RCTs from 2010 to 2020. I want RCTs on these mesh terms. These should be the key terms. You give this, so they will locate all those studies instead of manual search. They will locate all those studies, and roughly like that. See, you remember how our reference management softwares work, like Zotero and all those? It is something like that. It is one more step advanced. Okay. So each software is going to be little different, the actual nuts and bolts, but this is the general way in which they work. Okay. They reduce um, the manual load on us.
So there is one more question from Dr. Arun Daniels.
I'm reading.
Oh, okay, sir.
I'm reading.
Okay, sir.
What's the role of effects? Role of effect size and participating size. Yes, I mean, logically thinking, studies with a higher sample size tend to produce better results, logically thinking. Okay. So, are we talking about sample size or effect size? Right, by the time I get the answer, a study with a larger sample size, I will assume it's sample size has more weightage. But like I said, when you have the session on Cochrane, you will probably find out why Cochrane is against weighing studies. There should be some weightage. At our level, if we think about it, there should be some weightage. That is also a complicated calculation that will probably come in meta-analysis. If everything is perfect, give this much weightage. If if it's only less number of people, give less weightage. If it doesn't say the secondary outcomes, reduce the weightage a little bit. Things like that. Those all can be automated. I mean, they can be used in these SR softwares, and they will do the trick. The bottom line is you need to get your hands dirty. You download a couple of these softwares. They all have trial periods. Explore it for a week or so. Then you will learn. The best way to learn is to just install it and see how it works. Right. Where to look for unpublished reviews, unpublished articles, basically, not even reviews, unpublished articles. Yes, there are repositories of dissertations and theses. If you search, you can find that. Yeah, be wary of the quality. They are not published for some reason. So not necessarily low quality always, but yeah, just use caution. Do we have to include printed articles also? I actually didn't understand that. Printed articles, hard copy. I'm not sure of this. Can PowerPoint of all lectures? Yes, I can share mine. I don't know about the other speakers. I can share mine. Probably in a PDF, maybe. How can you determine weightage? Too complex to discuss in this. Can we do SRs by using the published case reports? No, you don't need to restrict to RCTs. You can do with case reports also. But see, the process is what is important, not the. No one has actually asked the question, how many minimum studies do we need to make an SR? Do we need 10, 20, 2? So the answer is there is no absolute number like that. It is the method that you follow. If you have been systematic in selecting the studies, in filtering them, then even 2 or 3 studies are also technically okay. Even 0 studies are also okay, because you are showing following this method there are no eligible studies, so we need to do RCTs, so we need to do studies. So yeah, you can do definitely on case reports enough numbers, and it shouldn't be of simple case series level. It should be an actual SR. You see, you combine a bunch of case reports, and if you do it at a very low level, it will be in a case series. That's not what you are asking, I hope. If you follow the strict guidelines for systematic review, you can combine a bunch of case reports also. SRs can't assess. No, we do take in the weightage, but it is done by the meta-analysis. Done at that stage, the weightage is taken into account. This is a follow-up for some other question. Where to look for unpublished? Yes, yes, we can look at preprint also, I think. Right? This is the discussion for the systematic, for the meta-analysis session. That's day after tomorrow. Right. SR in medical education. எதுவும் இல்லைன்னா நீங்க பண்ணுங்க. I'm sure there is, see, effect of flipped learning. I'm sure there are hundreds or probably thousands of studies. You combine all those studies and come up with a single answer, whether it works or not. That is SR, right? It doesn't stop. There's no saying that SR should be done in this field only. SR can be done in sociology, it can be done in healthcare, it can be done in any field. As long as you follow the rigor, you maintain the rigor, any field SR can be done. Definitely in medical education also. Okay, then let's
Sir, I think one complicated question was there. Are only adjusted odds ratio used?
This is what
can you
I
use?
selected this. I selected this and I said this is a question for the meta-analysis.
Okay, fine.
Session. Pankaj sir will answer that. Right. So. Right. So we're looking at the limitations section. Although this is the best of the best kind of thing we are claiming, it does has its own limitations. Number one is we just don't have enough systematic reviews. I think around 8,000 reviews happen per year, published per year. That's nowhere near enough, because the input number is so big. There are so many input research that this number is not enough. Basically, we don't have enough systematic reviews as of now. Partly because we don't have enough people to do this. We don't have enough trained people to do systematic reviews. And then there are variations in the quality control. That study that I was showing the screenshot, it shows that there are so much variations between the, how well the studies were conducted. Those published reviews, there are wide variations in their quality standards. Some have used cost considerations. Some have looked into the risk of bias. Risk of bias is something important in systematic reviews. So yeah, a lot of variations in the quality of systematic reviews. And then Usually unpublished sources we don't include for systematic reviews. That is also a problem. There is a lot of wealth in the so-called gray literature. Okay. It's not black, it's gray literature, unpublished sources. This is about the methodology of the systematic review themselves. But again, this is needs to be constantly updated, especially in medical field, because new evidence keeps pouring in every day. Within medicine, there are some specific fields in which the pace of change is so fast. Um, so as and when new evidence comes, new RCTs also have to be. I mean, new SRs also have to be happening. Uh, the word that was spoken a year ago or 6 months ago by Cochrane need not hold true next year, because now we may have 20 other RCTs claiming the opposite. Okay, so systematic reviews also need to be uh, constantly updated. So ideally, what is needed is some kind of a live document. You remember NMC's those three volume books? They said this is a live document. It will keep on evolving. So on the Madri, for any answer, like for example, does ivermectin work for is it of any use in COVID-19? That answer should be a live answer, I think. As and when new evidence comes, we should be updating that answer. It may be no, it doesn't work last month. And once we get a better study, a better bunch of studies, we should not shy away from revising it. So, need for constantly looking at what are all RCTs or other researches being published and constantly including them in our existing systematic review and publishing a altered conclusion, updated conclusion. That is the biggest challenge. Okay, these are regarding the actual methods. There are few more limitations also. If the input research is of low quality, the synthesis is also going to be of low quality. And we know that there are low reporting rates. In fact, even among clinical trials, only one half of all registered trials are published. Okay. And there is also a publication bias, which I'm sure most of us know. Like we tend to publish only when we get what we perceive as a positive result. If you are not able to show an improvement, if you are not able to show a reduction in blood pressure values, we tend not to publish those research. That is called publication bias. Many positive effect studies only get published. Negative studies are also equally important, probably more important, because they are the ones who offset the claims of the positive studies. Okay, so this is also there. And then, like I said, how Cochrane does not want us to give weightage, Murray. There have been few people who are saying the bars set by Cochrane are little low for its own reviews, not for all systematic reviews. When Cochrane does a systematic review, the criteria for inclusion seems to be little low. For us, it will be high only, but for the for the for the people who have been reviewing systematic reviews for a couple of decades, they probably find Cochrane's bars a little bit low, meaning the Cochrane includes some low quality studies also. Probably that will change. Right, so these are limitations on one level, but there is a much more basic limitation, which is the basic combining concern. Can we actually combine like this and claim one final answer. See, the debate is between synthesis having one final answer and between heterogeneity. Am I making sense here? Do you know what I'm trying to talk? It's like this. There are 50 studies done in Europe among Caucasians. They find some drug is protective. We are trying to combine them with 50 other studies done in Indian subcontinent, where our genetic makeup is different, where we are different. Biologically, we are a little bit different here and there. So, can we actually combine these two results? The heterogeneity, that's what I mean by heterogeneity. Now, this I do not have as an answer, single answer. I don't even, it will take a long, this will be a discussion. This is not a statement, this is a discussion. But this concern has long been there. In fact, I would love to get some inputs also from experts on this. The very basic principles of systematic review, that is where this is hitting. Can we combine results from heterogeneous populations? Won't they cancel out each other? It might work for one population group, it might not work for another population group, and when we compare them, they just cancel out each other, kind of thing. Anyway, that's the argument for heterogeneity, and the other is synthesis. On one side is we need one final answer so that I can decide, kind of thing. So there's always a debate between these two. I would love to hear participants and experts' comments at the end of the session, which we are nearing anyway, right? So some ways to overcoming these limitations is this low quality research, garbage in, garbage out. That should be fixed when we fix our publishing quality, when we fix our research quality. This is golden words. It was said in 1994. It applies to us now with the NMC coming up with all those rules. Much poor research arises because researchers feel compelled for career reasons to carry out research that they are ill-equipped to perform, and nobody stops them. Altman has said this in 94, and I think it still holds true. So, publication count ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಲಾಂಟು. We are putting up some low-quality research, which ends up becoming part of a systematic review and bringing down the whole credibility of evidence thing down. So something to be worried about. And then when we are doing systematic reviews, if we stick to the standard reporting guidelines like PRISMA, that will reduce many of the variations. And when we are interpreting SRs, idukkum tools irukku. There are tools to evaluate SR. These are also like automated tools to evaluate SRs. If you find an SR very low in quality, don't take it. Okay. So then the next is automation. This solves the problem. This tries to solve the problem of too much original data, not enough people to do SRs. That issue this tries to solve, and the issue of taking 1-2 years to complete a systematic review, that can be solved by automation. So automation is what is coming next, basically. What next? No, it's all about automation. So let's look back a little here. 20 years ago, these years, it's generally plus or minus 5 in the middle. Some of us, the advanced, the techie people might have done this little earlier than the others, those kind of things. Anyway, these are rough things. 20 years ago, we were looking at library bound back volumes, physically flipping through, xeroxing and taking hard copies, and filling cabinets and cabinets. those studies that don't fit our criteria, we need to put them in another cabinet, right? So this is when you were trying to do a systematic review 20 years ago. Even normal review of literature also, this is what we did, no? We went to the library, probably in the basement, all the back volumes were bound, hardbound. We took them, searched, took Xerox, the whole story, right? 10 years ago, we started using internet, so at least the physical space reduced. We were having soft copies, and the list and all we were maintaining in spreadsheets instead of manual sheets of papers. We were using spreadsheets to list out what are all the studies and probably link it to the original downloadable thing, right? So that was 10 years ago. So for some of us, this was 5 years ago. Some of us, what I'm going to show is not yet happened. Anyway, so now we have from simple spreadsheets, we are having reference manager softwares like Zotero, Roughman, all those things. Some of us have been using this for 4 or 5 years probably. Some of us have not started using. And there are also systematic review softwares available. These are still, what's the word? These are not fully automated softwares. These are still manual software, even if there is even a word like that. Anyway, so this is already existing SSR software. But next is what I'm saying, the automated systematic reviews, which very little human intervention is needed. So if you look at automation SR, it's basically a natural progression, like what we saw now. And it's a product of necessity. What makes it necessary is we need faster evidence. People want results quicker. We need to continuously update. We don't have enough reviewers, and the manual process of doing SRs is cumbersome, lots of error prone, and it needs to be auditable. Now, all these supposedly can be solved if we use machines to do, if we automate the process. So you will hear these big words: artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks, natural language processing. Don't get intimidated. Most of them can be understood if you spend 2-3 minutes. Okay. AI and machine learning, already your smartphone is doing every day. It learns from your habits. It knows where you 8 to 8:30 where you will be going. Google probably knows by now. Okay, it knows your house. It learns. If you have used Google Photos, you know how good their AI you know, architecture is. So these are all currently being used. We have not yet been using these. Okay, so these terms will come often. There are wonderful resources. You just have to search automation in SR, then you will find a lot of resources. Now, in the big steps of SR, certain steps can easily be automated. Certain steps are more difficult to automate. Certain steps are next to impossible to automate. So I think that's beyond the scope of this discussion. But basically, the preparation, retrieval, synthesis, preparation step is we need to do. Retrieval can mostly be automated. Appraisal, even if you give them the adequate input, they can do this step also. Synthesis, we may need to intervene little, and write up, definitely human intervention is needed here, right? So these are some of the AI powered automated tools which is already available. These are available to do see, for searching data, this Sherlock is a AI tool. So like this, for extracting data, these softwares are available. Even more for searching these data, for screening these softwares, for extracting these software. There's so much available. It's a big, exciting world out there. We just need to step in. Okay. So like I said, it is exciting times ahead. We need to stay updated, right? I think that's the bottom line. So I provided some further reading materials. The Cochrane Handbook of Systematic Reviews. This is probably the book you need, not book, the resource you need to look. There are many more studies. There's even a Coursera course you can probably take. And then Harvard, BMJ, a bunch of good, really good. I've spent a lot of time on this. These are hand-picked and very promising resources. I hope you'll find them useful. Right. So the take-home message is systematic reviews are needed, definitely. There are not enough of them. There are not enough people. We should also be doing them. But they are not a quick fix thing. They are not a 1 week, 2 week finishing things. If we are doing, we need to be dedicated, follow every Prisma guideline, and we need to be up to that standards if we are doing SRs. Hope to see a lot of systematic reviews being published from our participants in the near future. Right? Okay, thank you. Now we can take some questions and discussions.
So there are already 3 questions in the chat box, sir.
We'll try to answer.
Yes. Shall I read out?
Yeah, I can see.
Yes.
In different. Yes, sir. All these are basically put. Any question relating to how to combine is part of meta-analysis techniques. Okay. So one way is this question I'm talking about. You take only the mean values. If they are not given, then that's part of your exclusion criteria. If there is no mean, don't include this study. Should be one of your criteria. So that's basically that reflects poor quality of the article. If they are given a mean and not given an SD, that just reflects their level of quality, and you cannot analyze them together. You have to skip those questions. What are the special considerations Kotus are assessed for conducting? So special considerations is that we cannot use meta-analysis. We cannot use meta-analysis for qualitative research. Let's clear that away, because meta-analysis is statistics. It is about combining numbers. So qualitative studies, we can only synthesize without meta-analysis. That's part of the answer. Special considerations for conducting systematic reviews for educational research. We need to define our question first, sir. I think that will be the main consideration. Is flipped class really effective? If that's the question you're trying to find out answer, we need to define that question first. That's just an example. We need to define that question first and then search, are there enough studies published on this? And then you filter them out depending on your the criteria that you have selected. So basically we need enough input studies to be able to do systematic reviews, which we have actually. We have a lot of studies, like I said, 2 million studies. We just have to weed out the low quality studies and look for the better ones. This is a multi-part question. Are there any copyright issues in including articles from various journals, especially from paid journals? That's that's a loaded question. No, I think abstract also can be from abstract also you can look at certain things, but definitely not do a full SR with abstract alone. So an article from the paid journal, can it be part of your SR without us actually having paid for the journal? I think that's the question one. Tricky, sir. I actually am not very sure because I mean, yes, I've been using SciHub. Is this being recorded now? Okay, so most of us have been using SciHub,
Yeah, it
but
is.
It is being recorded,
yes.
sir.
Can I answer this question?
Vishnuvat, sir.
Can I answer this question?
Yes, please, sir.
When you do meta-analysis, whether it's paid or unpaid journals, you can use. Only thing is paid journals, they may not allow you to access the material unless you pay. But if somebody else has paid and got you the material, that can be definitely used. It is not necessary that the author of the systematic review has to pay. So long as somebody has paid and got the particular, I think it can be used.
Okay.
My voice is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
basically, yes.
Yeah, you carry on, Professor.
Sir, you are telling something?
No, something different. You finish that, then I will talk.
No, basically, whether you need not have to pay yourself for getting the articles. It can be from the library. It can be from some other source. Suppose your college is subscribed to some indexing agency, and from there you download. You can take the articles. It's not that the author who does the systematic review has to pay and get the articles. Not like that. From any source you can pay, because you are also putting their references when you complete your systematic review. What are the articles you have taken? So all those things will be listed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Sridhar Raman, you responded to my question about the special considerations for SR and MA for the educational research or qualitative research.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this many of the educational studies designs, probably you must have also seen that they are kind of interventions and like experimental studies, wherein they will be in no way different from the quantitative research.
Okay.
So in that event, the systematic review, even meta-analysis for these educational studies also could be possible, because we have seen many of the interventions are in this like experimental design.
Yes, sir. If we have qualitative studies in educational research, definitely we can do SR, sir.
And sorry, I just another one or two questions continue with that before you take the next question in the chat box. Is it right to communicate the author of any study which you have included in your systematic review, right, in the sense ethically or some doubt or some clarification?
No, sir. I mean, there is no issues. There is no mandate that you should communicate to them. Even that syncs with this conflict of interest because we are using their ideas. No, sir. The very purpose of once they have published, it's meant for global consumption. It's meant for us to make use of it. So that is one. The other is the very design of systematic review is secondary. It's secondary. We never claim it is primary data. So there is no conflict of interest, and I don't think we need to tell them that your study has been shortlisted in our SR. I don't think so, sir.
And the last one is, are there any incidences wherein authors of any study have challenged or sued the authors of the review or meta-analysis? Because now it's all gigo technology and garbage in, garbage out, so many things, and all kinds of articles are coming out. And then suppose I produce something with my own interest or with conflict of interest, whatever it is, then when it is challenged or kind of opposed or neutralized, whatever you can say, then can that be challenged? I feel defeated, because I've done something.
I'm not very sure, sir, actually. But the original author should feel offended if the study didn't pass the eligibility criteria. And if it didn't make it to the SR, then they should be offended, because your study was not of good quality, so we are not included. That is when they should be offended, sir, really. If it's included, then they should be happy. Okay, we met the quality standards. That's how I would look at it, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Thurman.
Thank you.
There was one question on registration of systematic review.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is it mandatory to register the protocol of systematic review? If so, where to register?
I don't think we need to register. We need to register clinical trials.
No, sir. Now,
Something new development might have happened.
sir, any good
Sir,
journal,
Vishnu Bhatt, sir, are you saying something?
Yes.
any good journals now they are insisting your systematic reviews registered with the Prospero. So there is a site for like clinical trial, Prospero.
Prospero.
So in that
Okay.
site, you have to register what is your topic, how you are doing, what you are doing, all those things have to be registered. Then only they will accept in
Okay.
some of these international journals. They will ask you whether you have registered or not. So it is safer because one thing is that you make others know that you are doing a systematic review on a topic. So others can do systematic review on another topic. Otherwise, they say that human resources are wasted, just like this clinical trial. So it is a way of making people
Agreed,
know it's being done. So that Prospero website, we can.
It makes sense.
It's a free website.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
So
I
there
have
is
one question.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, go ahead.
Nice.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, this is actually a continuation of the discussion on that systematic and reviews for educational studies. See, when we are looking at any study which is clinical or so we are looking at very definitive outcomes. We are looking at death or disease. We are looking at disability cost or dissatisfaction with treatment and all that. So there is definite endpoints or outcomes which can be measured. But the same example what you were telling Dr. Sitaraman about the effect of flipped class. So if you take 10 studies, the effect of flipped class, what they used to measure is not, I think, standardized across at all. So what you might measure as effect is not same as what I am measuring kind of. No. So that is where I think the variation comes in educational research, because it is not very rigorously outcome oriented. That is why I think there is not much of meta-analysis or systematic reviews coming from educational research, because if you look at most of the articles which are published and what they are measuring as outcomes of educational research, maximum we are publishing on Kirkpatrick's level 1. What is their satisfaction? How many of students liked it, disliked it? So that kind of feedback. Or if we go one level higher, like what is the pre-test, post-test score? So there's not much of studies on long-term follow-up. What is the impact of educational interventions and things like that? No, the very few studies which have come out, and most of them have come out from big institutes, like who have got a lot of follow-up data, things like Medical Teacher or the Dundee kind of group. So that is why I think there is some issue with systematic reviews for education.
Yes.
One more question, sir. Does systematic review require ethical clearance from respective bodies?
No, madam, usually. I think we can apply and ask for an exemption.
Okay, sir.
It's better to apply and ask for a waiver or an exemption. I think that's the procedure. You can check with our
guidelines.
Policy.
As per the new guidelines, any research,
yes, sir.
better to go through the ethical committee. As he rightly says, we can get it exempted from review. So the ethical committee can say that we are not involving any human
Yes.
being, so they are exempted from ethics review. And they will give certificate that it has been exempted from ethical review.
But
So
you have to
that,
approve.
yeah, it is not a
You
must
have to.
that be done.
Okay,
But
sir.
some judges may ask, did you take ethics committee permission or not, or approval or not? Normally, it is not an issue, but it is better. They will give a certificate. The ethics committee will give that this study has been given waiver of ethics review because it is only a systematic review. If you want that, sometimes they will allow even retrospective ethics committee clearance also because this study really does not involve human directly. But it is better.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And one more this thing. Dr. Sitaraman was telling about the Coursera
Yes.
course, no, Introduction to Systematic Review and
Yes.
Meta-Analysis. It is actually free for this thing consumption. We have registered all our AVMC users in Coursera. So any of you interested,
Oh,
this is
nice.
offered by John Hopkins University. So you can actually go and take it for free. That is what it takes, only 14 hours to complete.
You have paid, institute has paid for this, you're saying?
No, this institute has registered. We have
Or it's free for everybody?
that for COVID time they had put it free, no sir. So that time we had registered all our users in Coursera. So many of the courses are free. During COVID time there were a lot of courses. Now also they have made it free for some. The second wave time also they have made it free.
Nice. 1 second. This one.
This one only.
Yes.
Okay. Financial aid available. So this is free now?
Yeah, it is free only, sir. That financial aid available is it comes for almost all the courses in Coursera.
Yes,
If
we
you
need
want
to
to get
write.
a certificate, which is a printed certificate from them and all, you need to pay some
Okay.
1,000 rupees or so.
Okay.
Not very costly.
Okay. Like that. So, what now?
So many of the participants, they want the PowerPoint mainly for those links and those resource things that things. So they all want the PPT to be shared, sir.
Sure,
See?
madam. I'll.
Okay, so if you
Where
share with
should I
us,
share?
you can just send to ma'am your mail ID, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So ma'am will be sending it to all the participants' mails, sir.
Okay. I'll send the PDF. It will still have all the links.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can do. Okay then.
There is one more comment about the Cochrane animations.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, madam. I'm seeing this. Thank you, sir. Somebody made it. There was a video, and then they made a animated storyboard. I didn't make. Cochrane people made it.
No more questions in the chat box, ma'am.
Sanju, we can close.
Ma'am, so
And next session you can
yeah,
remind
I'll
them.
announce, ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am.
feedback also.
Okay, ma'am.
Feedback link is there in the box.
Box, no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, thank you very much, sir, Dr. Sitaraman, sir, for giving such a wonderful presentation. It was really informative. And for people, I mean, the faculties other than community medicine department, I am 100% sure that this is lots of information was new to us, and it was very helpful for us, sir. Thanks a lot, sir, for answering all the queries that were raised by our participants too. So,
Thank you, madam. It's been
thank
a
you very
pleasure.
much, sir. Okay. Next is the feedback link. So dear participants, the feedback link is shared in the chat box, and please fill up the feedback forms. Next, there's one more announcement before we close the session. The next session, that is the day 3 session of our research methodology, this workshop will be on 10th July, Saturday. Please, all of you note, it's not at 2 p.m. The time is at 10 a.m. And the topic will be meta-analysis in medical literature, the why and what. The speaker will be Dr. Pankaj Bisha, HOD, Department of Community Medicine, Sri Ramachandra Medical College, Porur, Chennai. And the program will be hosted by Dr. Jawahar, Professor and Head of the Department, Pathology and member of IRC. So this is the information. This is the announcement for about the next session. With this, I think we have come to the end of today's
Dr.
session.
Sitaraman.
Yes, sir.
From the head of the institution, a special thanks and gratitude for you for being a part of
pleasure,
this session. Thanks very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
It's
you,
nice
sir.
of you to accept.
Vishnu Bhatt, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll be
Pleasure to
sending
be
the
associated with
YouTube
you.
link for today's session to all the participants by email. Please note that all
What
our
time?
correspondence will be through official emails, what you have used for registration. We will not like to entertain a lot of WhatsApp messages to be sent. So please see to it that you share the correct email ID with us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Ma'am, shall I close the session?
Wait. You just leave. I
Okay,
have to leave the YouTube.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, participants.